Communities across the country count on the American Red Cross for help every day, and supporting those communities is at the heart of what we do. Our work never stops, whether supplying blood products for patients in need of transfusions, including those who need surgery, cancer treatments, or trauma victims. We remain focused on delivering our life-saving mission each and every day. The topics we'll cover in training will help you perform your volunteer role and help collect the life-saving blood products that communities need. As always, the health and safety of our workforce, our clients, our donors, and patients is the #1 priority. Welcome to the American Red Cross Biomedical Services. You're a part of an organization with a rich history founded in two powerful concepts: humanitarianism and volunteerism. Volunteers are essential to the success of a blood drive. Their role at a blood drive is to enhance the blood donor's experience, provide support in challenging situations, and deliver the mission and promote important programs. At the drive, the supervisor is responsible for the management of the volunteer staff during that blood drive as an extension of that supervisor's workforce. It is the responsibility of the supervisor to ensure a properly trained workforce that is engaged and respected. This training will help give the foundation for that on-the-job instruction. We know that you will enjoy your position as you assist donors through the blood donation process. We depend on you as part of the team to provide excellent customer service, to ensure a positive donation experience for people of all cultures and backgrounds. And from the bottom of our hearts, we thank you for your generous gift of time, talent, and commitment. Blood drives are held in all different types of communities, cultural sites, and places of worship. The diversity of our blood donors helps the diverse patients needing blood transfusions. At the Red Cross, when we talk about diversity, we consider each and everything that makes us unique. Things like race and gender, religion, education, parental status, where you're from, physical qualities, and more. All the things that make us different and unique as compared to others. Inclusion, on the other hand, comes into play within the environment in which we do our work. The objective is for everyone to feel welcomed, valued, and respected wherever we're doing Red Cross work. Having a diverse team of employees and volunteers who operate in an inclusive work environment is a foundation for establishing culturally competent service delivery. Culturally competent service delivery means we provide services to a community in a way that shows we understand and appreciate the basic characteristics of that community. We will enhance our mission delivery through increased effectiveness, which comes from understanding and using all the differences in the way which make us collectively better. Some of the techniques to do this include treat everyone with respect and dignity. Always ask someone if they need assistance before attempting to help. They will tell you what they need. And when a person is communicating through an interpreter, please speak directly to the donor, not their interpreter. The need for blood in the U.S. can sometimes be quite staggering when you look at it from numbers. Nearly 7,000 units of platelets and 10,000 units of plasma are needed daily. A single car accident victim can require as many as 100 units of blood, and that blood must already be on the shelves during an emergency. Every 2 seconds, someone in the U.S. needs blood. Blood travel is an interesting route to get to the patient. Starting in the upper left-hand corner, the donor donates blood with your help as a volunteer. About a pint of blood is collected from each donor, and the blood is labeled and scanned into a database. On the upper right-hand corner, you'll see tests establish the blood type and ensure that it's free of infection. Following the arrow down, most blood is centrifuged and separated into 3 parts: red cells, platelets, and plasma, which are stored according to their own requirements, temperature, and some require agitation. Blood is available for shipping to hospitals 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, where it is given to those in need in the bottom right-hand corner, thanks to donors and volunteers like you. But how does that blood process get started? Have you ever been a blood donor or seen a blood drive in action? Think about your experience, and we'll look at these 4 basic steps. The first step is reception, where the donor is greeted and checked in to prepare for the process. Then he or she will move on to health histories, where their background is reviewed and physical findings help determine their eligibility to donate. They then move to phlebotomy or blood donation, and then to the hospitality area where they receive a snack and a drink to rehydrate and are observed by volunteers for possible adverse reactions. The blood donation process is actually not just one type of process. In reality, there are several procedures that may be available at either donation centers or at a mobile blood drive. The first is whole blood donation. This takes about 45 to 60 minutes and is really the most common procedure that you think of. We also can collect platelet or plasma donations. They take about 1 to 3 hours. They're typically done at a donation center, and the platelets are used to support patient surgeries, cancer patients, blood disorders, and organ transplants. After donations, platelets only have a lifespan of about 5 days. Power red cell donations take about 60 to 90 minutes and are available both at donation centers and on mobile blood drives. Understanding these procedures and who may benefit from each help maximize a donor's gift of life. The Drive Insights, which we'll cover now for the next couple slides, is a new software program designed for collections team that will help them to better manage each blood drive. The benefits for Drive Insight is that it provides an automated prompt to the staff, the collection tech or medical screener, who's identifying the optimal blood product to collect from each donor. We talk about right type mix, and this is the program that focuses on the optimal blood product. It's based on the donor's blood type. It's based on whether or not they have the sickle cell marker or they're a rare type. It's based on the devices that are available at the current drive, and it checks blood products that are in need in hospitals nearby. It also reviews drive information, including the donor schedule, open appointment slots, the donor's historical data, like do they have a risk of pre-fainting or reactions, and it reviews the current state of the drive, the products that have been collected so far, the donor flow that's anticipated, and whether or not to expect and approve walk-ins. You may see this matrix about maximizing the donation at donor centers or mobile blood drives. It suggests the type of donation based on blood type with the most impact for patients in hospitals. Now that you've passed a quick lesson on Blood 101, your role on the blood drive is to ensure donors and visitors feel welcome, informed, and valued. Research shows that blood donors who have a positive and educational experience become repeat blood donors. You may remember our fundamental principles that you learned in your first Red Cross orientation: humanity, impartiality, neutrality, independence, voluntary service, unity, and universality. The Red Cross remains neutral in difficult situations. Therefore, we do not discuss religious, political, or controversial views while performing the job as a blood drive volunteer. Also, if a donor corrects their gender, make a note of that and always use the appropriate pronouns associated with that gender. As the volunteer, be that cheerleader. Each blood donor does deserve to be treated as an honored guest. Engage with them. Make the donation experience fun, fulfilling. Set the stage for a long-term commitment to regular blood donations. Beyond the role of cheerleader, there are additional responsibilities for blood drive volunteers. We'll review the general volunteer responsibilities now in a brief fashion and then go into more detail as we go through the training. As donors begin arriving, help them check in once they've done the pre-reading or completed Rapid Pass. Create a name sticker and hand it to the donor with the back peeled off to encourage them to wear it immediately. During a busy drive, you may be asked to disinfect other donor areas and beds, or you may call donors who miss appointments. An assignment that you may find yourself at for most of the shift is to assist in the hospitality area. That's where we ensure that each donor is rehydrated, recognized for their contribution, and watched carefully for adverse physical reactions to the blood donation process. And the last couple steps in the process is to thank each and every donor who comes to donate their gift of life. Ensure they have their post-donation information for blood donors fact sheet, and encourage each donor to schedule their next life-saving appointment using either the Book Now tablets, the Blood Donor app, or calling 1-800-RED Cross. Let's walk through the specific steps a donor ambassador or volunteer will take when a blood donor arrives. After greeting the donor, ask if they have completed Rapid Pass, which will be explained on a following slide, and have them do so if they have more than a 3-minute wait period, or have them do the pre-donation reading. When Rapid Pass or the pre-donation reading is complete, have the donor check in on the computer following the prompts. They will then scan their own ID. Once they finish checking in, complete a name sticker with their name written large enough to see from a few feet away. Add a W if they're an unscheduled donor, and if they happen to be a first-time donor, make a note of that on the name tag. Before we move further in the check-in process, let's talk about Rapid Pass. Rapid Pass is an online process for donors to read information and answer questions on the day of their donation prior to starting their physical findings with a collections team member. It can save time during blood or platelet donations, and for the best donation experience, we recommend that donors schedule an appointment, then complete Rapid Pass on the donation day. The process is simple, just 4 steps. It takes about 10 to 15 minutes. Donors get started with some initial information, including zip code, so it's helpful to have that ready. Then they read through the pre-donation materials, answer health history questions, and then print, download, or email their Rapid Pass to themselves, or bring the printed version to the drive. Rapid Pass has improved our overall donor service and efficiency by shortening the time needed before and during the health history portion of the donation process. The easiest way to access Rapid Pass is by downloading the Blood Donor app on a smartphone or tablet. If a donor has not completed Rapid Pass and is just not interested in doing it on the spot, they're invited to do the pre-reading, which is required by the FDA regulations to ensure that the donor has a chance to self-defer if there's something that's not a fit for them that day. The Blood Donor app serves as a donor card with details of the last 30 donations. It also does give the donor access to complete Rapid Pass, track their blood pressure, their hemoglobin, and their pulse from each visit. Donors can also follow their blood journey as the blood travels from collections to processing to testing, then storage, and finally delivery to the hospital. Donors can see where it is and which hospital it goes to help save a life. As with everything in this social media world, there's an opportunity to share the experience with just a couple clicks. Let's talk specifically about the donor check-in process. As you see in the photo, the laptop faces the donor, and the scanner is on a stand whenever possible and placed either on the left-hand or the right-hand side of the laptop. Both the scanner and the laptop are connected to the blood drive via cords and Wi-Fi and will feed information to the collections team during the blood drive. One note on using the scanner is that a stand is the safest way to keep the scanner hands-free whenever possible. If a scanner is not set up at the reception area, please kindly ask a collections team member if there is one available. We've found that the best practice is to tip the stand in the middle where you see arrow 1 So the eye of the scanner points to the table and the red light shows on the table. Once you've positioned the scanner, it should not need to be moved. Instead, each ID can then be slid into that red light area seen on the table. In the next section, Dana Douglas, Collections Training Engineer from the Process Excellence team, will walk us through the enhanced check-in procedures themselves. It will include different use of name stickers, upgraded employee monitor algorithm, and she'll explain that. This is the same training that Dana presented to the collections team. It may include process or document numbers pertinent for collections, but not for us as volunteers or for the donors. Dana, it's all yours.
Thank you, Cheryl. Let's look at the changes to donor check-in. The process has remained the same, but you'll see some new graphics and a more streamlined experience for the donor. They'll tap the screen to begin, and then they'll answer if they brought their Red Cross donor ID or a state military issued ID. If they didn't, they can choose to enter the information manually. If they did, they'll select yes, and on the next screen, they'll scan the barcode from the ID. Notice they don't have to tell it which ID they have. There are also some graphics here to be helpful for the donor to identify the appropriate barcode to scan. If the barcode scan is not successful, they'll be prompted to manually enter their information. Anytime the donor is manually entering their information, they'll see this note on the screen that tells them to enter the information as it appears on their ID, unless their donation appointment was made using a different name than what appears on their ID, and to please enter the name that they used to make the donation appointment. This donor did not have an appointment, so they're prompted to schedule one. The donor is going to choose blood, and in this case there are no additional appointments, so the donor will choose walk-in, and they'll still receive the confirmation screen. In this case, it'll say walk-in, but if the donor had an appointment, it would show the appointment time. The donor is going to confirm here, and then they'll receive a thank you screen. Notice that the Rapid Pass screen was removed. Rapid Pass is done prior to donor check-in, and the screen did not add any additional benefit to the process. Let's look at the changes to 15.4 Reference 421, the Donor Reception Guidelines. The donor check-in appointment schedule will be updated with the most current information from the Red Cross server approximately every 15 minutes throughout a drive if the drive has connectivity. If the drive does not have connectivity, then the donor schedule will be downloaded to eBDR at the beginning of the drive when the site master setup is performed. It is important to note that the information only comes down from the server. It does not go back up from the drive to the server, meaning that it is possible that a donor could select an appointment at the drive in donor check-in and another person could select the same appointment online. Staff will now use the employee monitor to determine who is next for health history. The stickers will not be used for this purpose. The stickers will be used as a name tag for the donor and to indicate if they are a first-time donor. To access the employee monitor in the health history booth, click the employee monitor tile shown here on the screen, ensure the view is active, and call the donor from the top of the list. The employee monitor has been configured with an algorithm that understands the American Red Cross appointment policy. It automatically calculates appointment time, arrival time, early or late, and walk-in status of a donor and places them in the employee monitor queue in the appropriate sequence. When you invite a donor into health history, donors will be listed on the employee monitor in the order that you will invite them into the booth. Donors with appointments will display first, followed by walk-ins. Be sure to provide all waiting donors with a regular update on estimated wait times, thank the donors for waiting patiently, and check in with donors periodically to see how they're doing. You can also print the donor schedule from the employee monitor using Control-P. Donors who are more than 15 minutes early for an appointment can go ahead and select their appointment time and will be slotted with the walk-ins until their appointment window of 15 minutes prior arrives. At that time, if they are still waiting, eBDR will move the donor with the appointment up ahead of the walk-ins. Donors who do not have an appointment or are more than 15 minutes late can select an open appointment or select walk-in. Let's see an example of how the employee monitor works. In this example, the current time is 5:41 p.m. Notice the first donor is showing in red. Their appointment time was at 5:30, and their status is showing as checked in late. This doesn't mean the donor was late for their appointment. It just means that the current time is past their appointment time. The next donor is showing an appointment time of 5:45 and checked in. This is appropriate because we are now within this donor's appointment window. The third donor down on the list is a donor who is a walk-in. They are slotted ahead of donors with appointments, and that's because the donors with appointments are considered checked in early, meaning they are ahead of their 15-minute appointment window. Notice that there is a donor with an appointment at 6 p.m. When 5:45 arrives, this donor will then be within their appointment window, and they will be slotted ahead of those donors that are walk-ins. Now the time is 5:45. As you can see, the donor with the 6 p.m. appointment has now been moved ahead of the donor who is checked in as a walk-in. And this is appropriate because the donor is now within their appointment window and they will be taken ahead of the walk-ins.
Thank you, Dana, for covering those items. And as mentioned, we'll now talk about some of the exceptions to the donor flow process. As you see at the top, if the donor has an appointment and presents more than 15 minutes early, the difference is now they can check in prior to their scheduled appointment's 15-minute window. They'll initially be lined up like a walk-in. The donor should be informed that they'll be taken when no one with an appointment is waiting. They'll stay in that walk-in status until their 15-minute window has been reached, and then they will move ahead of the walk-ins as someone who has an appointment. The difference for a donor who has an appointment but is more than 15 minutes late is that they will check in. If there's an open available appointment, they can select that, or they'll check in as a walk-in. And the donor should just be informed that they will be taken when no donor with an appointment is waiting. But they will remain a walk-in because they've missed that 15-minute window. Keep in mind, as Dana mentioned, any donor who states they have an appointment will be taken as though they do have that appointment, even if it doesn't show up in the system. And a couple things to note is that generally schedules will not be available to assist volunteers, but the regular 15-minute download, when there's connection, the check-in screens, and the software that we'll talk about will make the schedule less necessary than in the past. Second piece to note is on the check-in screens, the appointments don't show on the left side of the screen. If the donor is prompted to schedule an appointment, once they pick the product they wish to donate, the available appointments for that product, whole blood for instance, will then display on the screen for them to choose. If no slots are available, it will say there are no appointments available for that product. We still have rules about donors who have the last appointment of the day and being more than 5 minutes late. Chances are they may not be taken at all, per the National Labor Addendum. The new software we'll review in a moment does help the collections team review the day and decide if a donor more than 5 minutes late at the end of the day can be seen. Keep in mind, as Dana mentioned, any donor who states they have an appointment will be taken as though they do have that appointment, even if it doesn't show up in the system. And a couple things to note is that generally schedules will not be available to assist volunteers, but the regular 15-minute download, when there's connection, the check-in screens, and the software that we'll talk about will make the schedule less necessary than in the past. Second piece to note is on the check-in screens, the appointments don't show on the left side of the screen. If the donor is prompted to schedule an appointment, once they pick the product they wish to donate, the available appointments for that product, whole blood for instance, will then display on the screen for them to choose. If no slots are available, it will say there are no appointments available for that product. You may be asked to help sanitize donor areas and beds. Keep in mind the added possibility of detecting blood spills or spatters. If you see any visible signs of blood, stop immediately and notify a staff member. If no blood is visible, clean the area using sandy wipes or Cavicide. Use caution as the cleaning wipe fluid may harm your clothes. And be sure to clean head and armrests and the edges of the beds and chairs. Do not wipe the surface dry until the germ kill time has elapsed. Typically that's 2 to 3 minutes. Let a collections team member know when the area has been sanitized. And don't forget to wear gloves when doing the sanitation process. As a volunteer, offer each donor a snack or a drink and ensure that they're feeling well. Interact with them to look for any kind of reaction that may be negative. Could be paling skin, slurred speech, lightheadedness, acting suddenly withdrawn, or putting one's head on the table. If one of these is observed, notify the collections team member in a calm, professional manner. If a donor needs to use the restroom, offer to have someone escort them or monitor the time and alert the charge person if they do not return in a timely manner. Encourage donors to sign up for the next donation and encourage Blood Donor app and Rapid Pass use. Remind donors to take their post-donation instructions. Check the time on those post-donation instruction sheet. They should stay in the hospitality area for 15 minutes or in a high school situation for 20 minutes. And then ensure the sanitizing of tables and chairs between donors. The hospitality or canteen area provides a chance for the donor to rehydrate prior to leaving the blood drive. Collections team members will also be strengthening the post-donation care instructions, both verbally and in writing. There's a new section on the form where they will write the time the donor was released to canteen on the Information for Blood Donors Fact Sheet form. Noting the time will help blood donor ambassadors encourage donors to stay in the canteen or recovery area for the beneficial 15-minute time frame. An additional technique has been added to Collections Toolbox of information for donors. Collections team members will teach this technique during the blood donation. As you read in this enlarged section, applied muscle tension is a form of isometric exercise that produces a rise in blood pressure and heart rate. It consists of cycles of repeated contraction and relaxation of the major muscle groups in two regions of the body, the abdomen and the legs. AMT reduces the risk of complications and can be used anytime the donor starts to feel unwell. We're excited to present this opportunity for you to learn about a new technology for American Red Cross blood drives. It's called Book Now. It's the Donor Resign app. And by resign, what we mean is schedule the next appointment. Book Now helps donors select their next appointments at the sponsor's following drive or a drive nearby. Collection team members launch the Book Now app from the donor tablets that we currently use for Rapid Pass and the pre-donation reading. To set it up, a member of the collections team will enter the passcode and external drive ID. When you or a donor opens a tablet being used for Book Now, you will see Scheduling Your Next Appointment Has Never Been Easier screen. Double check that the drive information listed here is accurate. It should match where you're currently staffing. If it is correct, tap Schedule Your Next Appointment Now in the red banner. If it does not match the current drive, please request a collections team member to set up and enter the passcode steps again. Once you've tapped Schedule Your Next Appointment Now, you'll see the drive roster. The drive roster is populated from a merge of the electronic donor records, EBDR, and the drive management record that's being created in that blood drive. It's refreshed each time the user selects Schedule Your Next Appointment button. The donor names and phone numbers that you see here are shortened to protect their privacy. Tap the circle next to the donor name and phone number. If you do not see the donor's name in the list, tap Don't See Your Name at the bottom. This will take you to a drive roster search. If you did need to move to the drive roster search, find the donor's name by entering the first few characters of their last name in the box. Please note that the phone numbers are not able to be used to search the roster. Once you've found the correct donor, tap the name to select. The confirmation message pops up. Hello, Sarah. Are you donating today? Click Yes if they have or are continuing the donor process. No if the donor was deferred, or cancel if this is the wrong donor. If the donor is deferred, they can still reschedule using Book Now, as we'll outline at the end of this training. Sometimes the donor's name will not be listed. If that happens, tap Don't See Your Name at the bottom. Not seeing the donor's name on the roster is not a concern. It will just require a manual entry. You might see this happen if a donor is deferred in health histories, if they're a first-time donor or a walk-in, or if there happens to be a network connection error. To check for their name, it's entered manually with name, date of birth, and type of donation. The question, "What are you donating today?" really helps inform the recommended appointment type and the eligibility logic, the timeline primarily, in the subsequent appointment setting steps. Tap Done once all information is entered. The next screen will ask again about the type of donation for the donor's next appointment. The logic behind this smart scheduling will then display available donation opportunities based on what product the donor is giving today and the type of current blood operation. For instance, if a donor is currently donating at a sponsored mobile drive, then platelet and AB plasma donation types and things like that will be disabled. Donor eligibility is calculated using the current donation being made, which we answered on the last screen. So if the donor is donating whole blood today and whole blood is selected for the next donation, then the app adds 56 days and only shows the first drives available after that 56 days. If the donor is donating Power Red cells, the app adds 112 days and then only shows the first drive available after that 112 days. Once the type of donation is selected, a group of nearby drives will be listed as you see here. By default, the current sponsor drive opportunity is listed first. The Start Date field displays the donor's first eligible donation date based on their selected donation type. If the sponsor has no future drives scheduled, use the date range finders or tap Search by Zip Code in order to find more blood drives. The Search by Zip Code button can also help find blood drives in home or work locations if they're different from the current zip code where the person is donating. Once the donor agrees to a particular drive, tap the appointment time they prefer. The Available Slots column in the center shows how many appointments are still open for that time slot and type of blood donation. Where you see 2 or more to schedule appointments, that's so that you can donate with a friend. Slot availability is only for the product type selected. For example, 1215 has 2 available appointments for whole blood. If no appointment times work with the donor schedule, use the back button located on the tablet or on the arrow in the top left corner to select a different drive. As you're helping the donor select the next appointment, read the selection to them one more time to confirm. If this selection is correct, tap Confirm Appointment. The confirmation screen will then thank the donor for scheduling, list the new appointment scheduled, and display a QR code, which will be described on the next slide. If the donor has an email address on file, they'll receive an email confirmation within 24 hours. Please note below, if the donor does not have an email address on file, they will receive appointment reminder phone calls from the Red Cross. They may want to prevent the calls by entering an email in their electronic blood donation record account. On the confirmation page, donors can use their own personal device to scan the QR code displayed on the confirmation screen. Scanning this QR code prompts the personal device, their smartphone, to download and save appointment details to the donor's personal device calendar. Scanning the confirmation screen QR code does not change the email or phone appointment reminders. As mentioned earlier on, if a donor is deferred, they can still reschedule using Book Now. After selecting No to the Are you donating today question, a calendar will appear requesting the next eligibility date of that donor, and that's typically given to the donor by the collections tech in Health Histories. Tap the date, then tap OK, and proceed through the Book Now process as normal. Let's talk a bit about how you invite donors to participate in Book Now, re-signing their appointment. Keep in mind that Book Now creates an engagement opportunity for you and the donor. Through all interactions, it is important to remember that donors respond positively to being addressed in a caring manner. As you approach the conversation of re-signing a donor using Book Now, always be present. Show sincere appreciation. Make the ask direct and specific while being attuned to their response, both verbal and nonverbal. Here are a couple options on how to ask a donor to use Book Now. You can approach it formally. Thanks for coming in today. We have a cool re-sign option. Right here from the bedside or canteen, I can easily sign you up for your next donation at either this location or another that would be convenient for you. It's just a few clicks. Would you like me to get you set up for your next appointment right now? I'd be happy to do it for you. Or you could use an informal option. You did it. You saved a life today. I can help you do it again by signing you up for your next appointment using our app, Book Now. It only takes a minute, it's super easy, and you don't even have to get up from the canteen. What do you think? Can we confirm your next visit? We'd love to see you again and help you save more lives. One great feature is it will result in fewer appointment scheduling phone calls from the Red Cross. If you need to change your appointment, you have access to update it by using your donor app or calling 1-800-RED CROSS. Book Now eliminates the potential for clerical errors from the manual process of re-signing that we've used in the past. This ensures the accuracy of your appointment date and time. And then you could also say pre-scheduled appointments allow us to better predict the donor flow and staff the drive accordingly. That should improve wait times and provide a better experience for you and for the team that's serving you. You might be thinking, what if they're hesitant? If the donor hesitates, list some of the benefits of using Book Now. It gives you the best access to donation dates and times that meet your busy schedule. It is quick, easy, and convenient to do right at the site of donation. So, what do you say if the donor says no? Here are some examples. No thanks, I don't like technology. You might say, I realize this is new and unfamiliar. Once we go through it, you'll see just how easy it is to use. Let's take a look together and I'll help you set up your next appointment. If the donor responds with, I don't know my schedule or what I'll be doing 8 weeks from now, your response could be, that is okay. If you're unsure of your schedule, why don't we put you down based on what you think it is? You can always move it if needed. We want you to be able to get what works for you. Or you could say, I completely understand not knowing your schedule. The best part of the app is the simplicity, and once you're on the schedule, moving the appointment is not a problem. You can call us at 800-RED CROSS or use the donor app to reschedule. Or if you have a donor who's a bit upset about the wait time and says, why schedule when you don't take me on time? Your response could be, I realize this is frustrating and I am sorry you had to wait. By using Book Now, it helps us better predict schedules and staffing, which we hope will provide a better experience. I appreciate your commitment to saving lives. One last piece to point out are the donor directions that you may see at blood drives. A 2-page direction process has been created and can be printed at the drives in case collection team members or volunteers aren't able to help donors. Or if you'd like help walking through the steps the first few times, ask the collections team member to print the directions for you. In biomedical services, you serve donors who may experience long waits, equipment failures, and sometimes confusing questions. Often, a significant number of donors could be upset or complaining about our blood drive, the staff, the process, or even sometimes you as the volunteer. I'm going to walk through some situations and talk about how to handle them. Please keep in mind to always communicate with empathy as we walk through these. When you are confronted with an angry or upset donor, stay calm. Don't take things personally. Seek for understanding and do your best to help the donor feel at ease. Often donors assume you're an employee and that you know everything there is to know about a blood drive. It's okay to explain that you're a volunteer or even that you've just started volunteering, and it's okay to let the donor know that you're still learning. Don't hesitate to get the charge person involved. Sometimes volunteers are asked medical questions. Please refer specific medical questions to a Red Cross Collections team member. Say to the team member, "This donor has a question about eligibility, could you help them?" versus blurting out what the concern is or calling to the team member from across the room. Remember, volunteer staff do not give medical advice. If a donor is in a hurry, do your best to honestly prepare them for the donation process time. While we never want to discourage a donor from giving, their time is important and we want to move them as quickly as possible through the process, but their safety and the safety of the blood supply is our #1 priority, and that takes time. Encourage donors to remain in the hospitality area after their donation, even if they're rushed for their own safety. There are times when donors may have to wait. When explaining this, be positive. Something like, "We've had such a great response from the community today." Check with the charge person for a realistic time estimate. Don't underestimate the time needed to donate. If the donor is unable to wait, offer to help make an appointment for a later time that day, if it's available, or encourage them to schedule an appointment for an upcoming blood drive. Do initiate conversations with donors. One of the most valuable contributions you can make is conversing with them to make their time go by faster and help distract them from waiting. Sometimes donors with appointments come in more than 15 minutes, sometimes even 30 minutes or an hour before their appointment time. While we are happy to process a donor early if no one is waiting, we do follow an appointment priority system to ensure that on-time donors with appointments do have the first priority. When talking with the early bird donor, express appreciation for coming in and diplomatically explain that we have commitments for these other donors. Try to accommodate this donor like a walk-in with an open appointment or offer the option of waiting until those appointments have been served if walk-ins are available that day. The system will move that early bird donor from a walk-in to a scheduled appointment as they get closer to their scheduled time. Occasionally, you can see that a donor is visibly anxious, or they may share with you that they are nervous or unfamiliar with the process, like a first-time donor. Please spend extra time with these donors. Acknowledge that it is normal to feel anxious. Walk them through the steps of the donation verbally. If you're a donor, share your positive personal experience. Remind them of the recipient awaiting their donation. Walk-in donors are always a challenge. We want their donation, but during COVID-19, it's become much more difficult to accommodate walk-ins. When you arrive, ask the charge person if you can take walk-ins, and during the course of the day, check in on what the estimated wait time will be. If not accepting walk-in donors, explain that a wonderful community response has filled all the available time slots. They may have questions about why others are processed first. Again, explain that we appreciate their willingness to donate, that we need their donation, but they really have to honor the commitment to donors with appointments. If they're able to wait or return at another donation time, see what you have available. We understand that a returning donor may have read this material many times before. However, the information that they need to read prior to donating may have changed. It's also possible that the donor's own circumstances have changed. Ask for their patience and let them know that everyone must read the material prior to donation. This is an FDA requirement and helps ensure a safe blood supply. Sometimes a donor will arrive whose appointment is not on the schedule. They say that they've made it, but we don't see it on either the computer or on the printed schedule. The plan is to honor the appointment. If they say they have an appointment, they have an appointment, even if we don't see it listed anywhere. They may have made the appointment in the parking lot. They may have made it in the morning of the blood drive. Either way, they are considered to have an appointment. And the last challenge that I wanted you to be aware of are donors who are more than 15 minutes late. If a donor arrives more than 15 minutes late, they may be considered a walk-in, if that's allowed, or they may fill a open appointment that was not scheduled. If they're more than 5 minutes late at the end of the blood drive, they will probably not be able to donate that day. With any of the challenges that we see at a blood drive, please know that the charge person is your resource during the course of the day. Ask questions, find out how they'd like things to be handled. They are your supervisor on the day of the blood drive. Another activity you may be asked to complete is to contact donors who did not keep their appointment, also known as no-shows, or contact donors whose appointment needs to be canceled. It may be that we're out of supplies or that things have moved slowly and we're severely behind schedule. While phone calls are the preferred method of contact, you may also text donors. Phones are not provided on site. If you're comfortable using your own phone, know that we are very grateful. The temporary way of keeping your mobile number invisible from caller ID is to dial *67 before you dial their phone number. This temporarily deactivates your caller ID. Donor confidentiality before and after this outreach really must be honored. Calls or texts will be made to donors who have not presented at the blood drive within 20 minutes after their scheduled time. If you are asked to perform this task, ask for a donor schedule from the charge person. Then plan to use the following tally system so the Red Cross has an accurate count of your activity. Tally the number of donors you called or texted who were on the schedule but didn't show up. Also tally the number of donors who presented after you did call. Give that schedule with the total tallies to the charge person at the end of the drive. We know that sometimes the hardest part of making calls is knowing what to say. It's okay to stumble over your words. It gets easier each time. Here's some of the scripts. Call and say, "Hi, this is Cheryl. I'm a volunteer for the American Red Cross, currently at XYZ Blood Drive. Thank you for scheduling an appointment to donate blood. I'm calling to see if you still plan to donate blood today. We missed you this morning at 10. We are here until 6 p.m. If the donor says that they're not able to attend today, let them know that we're glad they let us know and encourage them to either use their donor app or to call the Red Cross to get rescheduled. If the donor replies, "Yes, I can make it by 6 p.m., please respond with, "Thank you so much. Your donation is greatly appreciated." Then include information about where the drive is located, where to park, things like that. Let them know if you have available time slots and find out which would work best for them. If none of the time slots on the schedule work for the donor, please write in the donor's preferred time. One of the most important things in setting the stage for donors to return to donate blood again is to make sure that each and every time that they come, that we give them our thank you. Their generous support helps us deliver life-saving blood to patients in need every single day. Please remember to thank each and every donor. While much of the Red Cross mission is focused on helping others, it is also important to be aware and protect yourself during emergencies. Emergency situations can be weather-related, or it could be something more serious. Please utilize the information in this slide to prepare yourself before an emergency occurs. Well, we've gotten through all of the volunteer tasks that we plan to outline. Let's go ahead and summarize them one last time for you. First, give the donors a warm welcome. Reinforce that they are helping to save lives and make sure they understand how much we appreciate them. Next, help the donor check in after their pre-reading or rapid pass is complete. Create a name sticker and hand it to the donor with the back peeled off to encourage them to wear it. Be ready to sanitize donor areas and beds. And remember, you may be asked to call donors who miss their appointments. Encourage donors to relax and rehydrate for 15 minutes in the canteen, ensuring that each donor is recognized for their contribution and carefully watched for adverse physical reactions. And I know we've said it a lot, but I can't say it often enough. Please remember to thank each donor. As you look at these photos, imagine your impact. As a blood drive volunteer, you are crucial to the mission of the American Red Cross. We thank you for your volunteer service, the generosity of your time and talent, and your dedication to our mission. Because of you, we can succeed in providing life-saving blood products to cancer and transplant patients, premature babies, accident victims, and others who need blood. Thank you for completing the Blood Donor Ambassador training and for your services as an American Red Cross volunteer.